Hi, my name is Amanda Woodruff with Westwood Acres Fabric. Today we're going to be learning to make one of these little Dresden patterns. This Dresden is about 3.5 inches across, and here's another one. This fabric that we're going to use today is called Apple Farm by Aaliyah Lutz for Riley Blake Designs. This fabric has a great range of colors, and it looks just like that, and we'll show you a little bit more of these prints as we sew today. But we'll be making a Dresden this size, so it's a 3.5 inch Dresden. It's great for applique, super cute over like a pair of jeans or whatever. You can fussy cut the middle and make it just a cute little I Spy pattern. What we're going to do today is we're going to use the pattern that's available for free using the link below, and you can just download it and cut out your templates. We have your blade for your Dresden, and then we have the circles, which start out a little bigger. So here's your circle. We're going to use these pieces and we're going to make a Dresden. So the first thing what we're going to do today is we're going to take these pieces and fold them in half, and we're going to sew a 1/4 inch along the top edge right here. So we're going to go ahead and do that for all 12 blades. Okay, now that we've sewn all of these in half, we're ready to do our next step. So we're going to clip them apart, just like this. We're going to clip them, and then once they are all clipped apart, we're going to trim off the folded corner. I want to make sure you guys can see this really good. We're just going to clip it right there, like that. That's going to help it be more pointy when you turn it inside out. Now we're going to turn it inside out, and you can use whatever turning tool you prefer. Lately I've been using a bobby pin because it's just handy on my table, and I just use that little point to get it shaped just like that. Once it's turned inside out and it's pointy like that, go ahead and press it and come right back. So once they are all pressed, they should look like this. You'll have a bunch of little tiny scraps that are ready to be sewn together. I don't cut all my tails off until the very end, and then I go through and cut out all of it, so you'll see little threads as we go. But now we're going to match them up in pairs like this, and we're going to sew them a 1/4 inch down the straight edge right here. Okay, once you've sewn all your blades together, you should have something that looks just like this. It is ready to have the applique done to the middle. So what we're going to do next is we're going to take the template and cut it out of something a little bit sturdier. Like I used a cereal box. Then we're going to kind of, I don't know if you can see, I tried to sew in a red thread so you could see. You kind of just do a quick basting stitch around the outside of your circle, and you put the circle in and kind of center it where you want. and then just pull the thread around so that it's right where you want it to be. So it looks like that, and then you're going to press it and applique it into the center of your mini Dresden. All right, once you have put this in there and cinched it up on the back, you put this in and you iron it. Once you iron it, you get a pretty clean edge, just like this. Now we're going to sit down and we're going to applique this right on top of your little mini Dresden, just like that. So we're going to put it on our machine, and if you need to, pin it in place so it'll hold still, or maybe use like a little bit of glue to baste it. And then we're just going to sew just right there, right along the edge, all the way around. All right, and you can see that I kind of have a little pucker down there at the bottom. I'll be pulling that out and restitching that, but you have this little sunshiny Dresden plate, and I've actually tweaked the pattern a little bit. Since I made this one, I made the circle a little bit smaller, so when you make yours, it will be a little bit smaller and a little bit more blade showing. All right, so now we're going to be turning our little Dresden into a pincushion. Once she's all sewn together, we're going to put her underneath our presser foot, and we're going to just sew. So you can see we're going to sew just 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little less, along the inside or along the points, just to tack it down. And then I like to do a stitch around the center just to kind of quilt it a little bit. I often quilt my entire pincushion, but I'm not going to today. But if you want to quilt your pincushion, make sure you do the quilting on the back before you cut it out to 4.5 inches. So if you quilt it after you do that, this will shrink a lot and you won't be able to make all the rest of the measurements work. So if you want to quilt the background before you cut it out. But for right now, we'll just sew this right down, and then we'll do our gusset. All right, so it's all sewn down. You can see it lays nice and flat, and it's just stitched really close to the edge, just like that. Okay, now we're gonna do our gusset. So we'll set that aside for just a second. This is our gusset piece. It is 16.5 inches long by 1 3/4 inches wide. What we're gonna do is we're gonna sew it right sides together right here like this at 1/4 inch. Okay, you can press or finger press your seam open right here. And it doesn't really matter if you press it open or if you press it to the side. You just want it to lay nice and flat for your project. But you're going to pinch it. So I'm going to move it back so you can see. You're going to pinch it flat over here so that when you open it up, you have a bit of a crease where the halfway mark is. And then after you pinch it that direction, you're going to line up that crease with the seam like that. And then you're going to pinch it on these two directions as well. Now the reason you do that is so that you have just quartered the fabric and you know where to line it up with the corners of your pincushion. Okay, so now we have these two creases, and we're going to take our pincushion and right sides together. We're going to line up these creases right here at the 1/4 inch in from either side. And we're going to just pin those in place. If you follow me much on Instagram or here on YouTube, you'll know that I don't pin a lot, but you do really need to pin these. Lay them flat and pin them down. And then you're going to go to the next corner over, and you're going to line that crease up right there and pin that down. And then you'll go to the final corner, lay this as flat as you can, and pin it down over there. And then if you need to, if you have any seam that's just being kind of obnoxious, you may want to add another pin or two. Like this seam for some reason wants to roll over on itself, and I don't really want to fight with it while I'm trying to sew. So I'll just pin it in there in the middle as well, just to help it lay flat. Okay, so now I'm going to go sew for the top, where the top attaches to the gusset. I'm going to sew all the way around. When I go to attach the bottom to the gusset, I'm going to leave a gap for stuffing. You will find that you won't see it quite as much if it's on the bottom. Okay, so now that it's all pinned, I'm just going to sew, pivoting at each seam or corner. Now you'll notice that as I go, I'm pulling these all the way out to the corners if they've shrunk in at all right here. Can you see how that corner is sticking out from where the gusset part meets it? So I'm just pulling out my pin and I'm rearranging it so that it's pulled tight. If you do this, you should avoid puckers in the corners. Okay, now I'm just going to repeat that with the bottom, pinning it, sewing it, but I'm going to make sure this time that I leave a little gap right right there, from there to there, and that way I will have a place to easily turn and stuff my pincushion. Alright, now once you've sewn your entire gusset like this, just go ahead and turn it inside out. Just push those corners through. This one's pretty easy, but if you quilted it, it can be a little bit more difficult. Just be gentle so that you don't rip any seams, but remember it's fabric and it's not going to just absolutely break. And look, you get nice pointy gusseted corners. Can you see that? And we'll get a turning tool and kind of poke those out a little more, but I don't see any puckers, so that's really good. And then we'll stuff it. I usually put in walnut shells at the bottom, and then I add a lot of batting scraps or polyfill to fill it all up, and then you will have a brand new super adorable pincushion.